Starbucks started in 1971 as a small Seattle-based coffee shop. Howard Schultz transformed it and it kind of invented and revolutionized the idea of a third space. It became a global giant, but now it's facing kind of burnout and people aren't going. What is wrong with it? Now, other people might deep dive the history of Starbucks more, and I'm not really going to get into all of that because I'm talking more of a feeling as a caffeine addict. So why has a beloved brand lost its soul?
If you were ever considering getting the protein coffee from Starbucks, fucking don't. Because what the fuck is this?
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Do you remember when Starbucks was a cozy little place that you could go hang out with your friends? Yeah, Starbucks kind of sucks now, and I want to talk about why. I'm Cuban, and I'm a certified coffee addict, so I think I got some opinions. When Starbucks started, which I didn't necessarily get to experience the start of Starbucks, right? But I did experience Starbucks before the pandemic. How everything kind of like became worse after, like in the coming years. As y'all know, I'm a freelancer and a videographer, right? So anytime I had to have like a meeting or something, it would occur in Starbucks most likely. When traveling in the US, espresso is not a really common thing. So Starbucks was a pretty cheap, reliable place where you could get a decent cup of coffee every time. And that's what I would use it for. Every time that I would travel, it was a great spot to go and get an espresso. Cause like there's nothing worse than going and traveling and then having to drink like a disgusting cup of Folgers from like the little coffee machines like at the diners. They probably do not clean that thing. So yeah, Starbucks was like a reliable place where you could have meetings, where you could go and have a cup of coffee, and it was a great time. I can't even complain. Somewhere along the after times, which like after the pandemic, basically they did the dental core thing that they took away a lot of the cozy aesthetic. They didn't want people to come and sit there and hang out anymore. So, you know, they made it look like a dental office, just like every other fast food and every other chain restaurant. I don't know why everybody's chasing this dental core. I mean, I know the reason. It's because they don't want to like clutter their real estate and then not be able to sell it and turn it into something else. So that's why they do the dental core, but I think it's awful. So you kick everybody out and you're like, you know, we're not gonna focus on that. Let's put the music louder so that people can't like sit there and reliably focus. But then even worse than that is you're like, okay, you know, Starbucks has also done a bunch of like little things. Like if you buy their coffee on the app, I'm not sure if it's like this anymore because I did stop using the app, but like, and you had a leftover balance, which you always would because you had to reload. Like you couldn't just purchase as you go. You had to fill a gift card. And so let's say that you had $1 left. You had to rebuy another gift card instead of being able to pay the difference of that with that $1 that you had, if that makes sense. So that was Starbucks has always done little things like that have bothered me. But either way, I was willing to look past it because I was just like, you know, I just want my espresso basically. I'm a caffeine addict and I want it now. So the main problems I feel like happened after the pandemic. They were like, let's take everything out, make a dental core. So that happened. There's a bunch of, I'm not really going to get into a whole bunch of history in this video because there's other videos that have done the whole breakdown of the history of Starbucks. I'm just talking about my own personal feelings as a consumer and a caffeine addict. But I did go to the original Starbucks. It was in Pike's Marketplace in Seattle, and I did live in Seattle for a bit, so I did get to go. It was really cool, and just, you know, I get what they were going for. It was supposed to be a hangout spot. It was supposed to be something great, and it was, and I used it like that for a while. So like everything, you could probably find a Starbucks within like 10 minutes of another Starbucks, so they're everywhere. And they, after the pandemic and they took away interior dining, they were just like, let's kind of focus on drive-thrus and just getting people out. I mean, they were actively doing this. They were trying not to have people like loiter, I guess. So that was a focus of theirs. And then they took the core of what they were originally doing it and just made it something else. So the goal was to let's get people in there and let's take them out and let's like get them in there and take them out and just make as many coffees as possible. That was fine, you know, like I was still on board. But then something even gnarlier happened, which was the prices started to increase. And then it was suddenly like, hey, it's legitimately worth it to like buy an espresso machine, which I do. I'm a huge coffee nerd and I have like an espresso setup with where I grind my own beans and the bottomless filter and all this stuff. I actually make better espresso at home than the espresso at Starbucks. And at most coffee shops, really, I have done the math, and you would save money probably over the course of like 6 months. That's how expensive going to these coffee stores. So I know it's a joke that like the boomers are like, well, if you didn't have Starbucks every day, then you'd be able to afford a house. It can like low-key add up for sure. So corporate greed, like always, just kind of turned the whole thing into a factory and just let's move people along. And then another thing has happened. Basically, the coffee sugar drink epidemic, which is essentially that Starbucks is a little bit better about this than Dunkin', but like they have these, I have noticed a trend of people getting these fraps that are like milkshakes, like literally like 1,000 to 1,500 calories for breakfast. Like they start their morning with this, and I feel like it's not really talked about much, that like there are some people that will just start their day with like a giant jug of sugary drink. I don't know, I just feel like that whole thing is contributing to like people's obesity and stuff, and like they just don't even know like that you're having like straight up a milkshake in the morning. So I think that all those coffees are a little bit misleading, but I don't think that's the reason Starbucks is doing badly. I think that there's not really a reason to go there anymore. The coffees are so expensive that it's just outrageous. And if you want food, like if you're a little hungry and you're feeling a little peckish, you're gonna walk out of Starbucks with a huge bill on your hands. Yeah, and now every time I go to the menu, like there's not like an emphasis on coffee anymore. It's an emphasis on like these sugary sugar bombs, and I have actually tried to cut sugar as much as I can. In fact, this coffee that I'm having right now is like completely black drip coffee with no sugar. And the reason I've been doing that is, I mean, one, when you get acclimated to having no sugar in your coffee, you really just get used to it. And two, obviously like excess sugar is extremely bad for you. But yeah, mostly I think the biggest problem with Starbucks is the price gouging. It is, you know, $8 or something for a coffee. Like you can eat, like I said, either buy a fancy espresso machine and have a whole setup, and you would break even on that actually. And there's also a lot of more competition, like Dutch Bros, and there's Dutch Bros, Dunkin', Lamppost Coffee I think is another one I've seen. There's several different coffee shops that are kind of competing with Starbucks and are a little bit more budget friendly and probably have lower cost of store maintenance, because Dutch Bros doesn't even have seating, I believe. The thing is that coffee shops are and were meant to be a third place, right? Where somewhere where you could go hang out that wasn't anybody's house. And I think that's one of the main draws of coffee, that or like just being like a cheap way to get a good drink. But if it's not cheap and it's not like a social activity, then like why would you go to Starbucks? I mean, there's also a lot of local coffee shops. So when Starbucks is just as expensive, if not more, than the local coffee shops, why wouldn't you just go to some local? Starbucks also originally was campaigning for their employees and trying to like be good to them, and they offer healthcare, and they offer all these things that make it an attractive workplace. But at the same time, you have the workers striking. So it's kind of like, what is really the truth? So in terms of their economy, when you look at it on paper, it doesn't look too bad. Their sales have only declined like 1 to 2%, which you could say is not really like a radical number, but they are closing stores. So they must know something's coming. I mean, me personally, like I was saying, I would reliably go to Starbucks every time I was on a trip. And what I did instead is I actually bought a portable espresso maker that I take with me, because it's ridiculous how expensive it is to just get a shot of espresso. Like I don't even want like any bougie super sugary drink. I just want like a shot of espresso. And the fact that that's difficult to get, like I just want a shot of espresso, but when I did the math, it's literally better, like significantly better for me to just make my own coffee, and more convenient because I can't always guarantee that when I'm traveling that I'm going to be super close to some sort of coffee shop. So, and it's not to say that Starbucks is going to disappear, because it's still there, right? And they're still making sales and people are still going to get their venti sugar bomb, but their sales are kind of like getting a little squished. So, you know, they might want to like change course a little bit, maybe offer some deals. Maybe take away the dental core and put some comfortable couches so that people actually want to hang out there. Maybe turn down the music. It is one of my biggest pet peeves, is being at a restaurant where they intentionally put the music super loud so that people want to leave. It's like really overly stimulating. So you don't even have to try that hard to sell coffee. Like it's a very, like people are just naturally addicted to caffeine. So it shouldn't be this hard, okay?